welcome back to my channel. I'm AspieAnswersAll. I go by the name of Aspie, and basically I'm all about creating mental health and awareness and sharing you my life story and journey with Asperger's syndrome, OCD and the like, just to give you the lowdown of what my life is like with Asperger's syndrome, just to create an awareness and understanding basically underneath these diagnoses of me as a person, as well as just to give you a clear heads up basically on how people work differently with this condition that I have, because there's some met some people in the flesh as well as on just maybe communicating on the social media sites. Everyone works differently, so bearing that in mind, because not every person is the same when they're autistics, or even as some of us will call ourselves autistics and holistics. Also, just to give you the lowdown, I also just bring out some everyday topics of some tips and advice versus just words of encouragement, or pearls of wisdom and knowledge, and based on my everyday experiences that I feel that may fit for you guys when you're down and out, and hopefully that when I bring them out that you can respect them regardless of these tips and advice. Like I said, some of the tips and advice, be it with the mental health disorder series, be it the ones I'm doing right now, the autistic series, just to tidy it all up, as well as the ADHD and the like, that some of the tips may work for you, of what I give to you, of the techniques or anything to manage it, or vice versa. Some of it may work for me and not for you, so to speak. And that sometimes if you feel that you see any warning signs of the signs and symptoms that's causing any harm for your friend, family, or whoever, even for yourself, seek medical professional help, as well as maybe second opinion. So in all further ado, guys, basically these are the how-to guides, basically based on, some of these will be broken down into parts, so like I said before, for many of the videos, so it's easier for you to follow if you're actually following it step by step, so that you can have a lowdown of it. Because I feel at the moment right now with what I'm sharing with you, I feel that it has to be shared, because as I said, some of this is all about creating an awareness and understanding regardless what it may be. Before I run out of time, this one's a how-to guide of how to become an autistic child. Some of these techniques that I'm going to bring out to you, or tips and advice shall we say, may sound a bit familiar to some of the other videos I've been sharing with you. I humbly apologize, but I hope to actually expand on what I can recall on these tips and advice for you all, so that hopefully it doesn't sound too similar to the ones I've already shared out already, if you've been following me from the very beginning. So here goes. As we know, basically there are going to be 3 methods that I'm going to address in this part of how to become an autistic child, and they are as follows. Number 1 of method 1 is preventing and dealing with meltdowns, which is coming up in the now. Next part will be calming the child, basically using deep pressure, which is method number 2, and the last but not least on this method will be calming the child using vestibular stimulation exercises. Excuse me, I'm trying to read my writing here as I read along based on my experiences, and hopefully my knowledge will serve me correctly from what I'm sharing. But before I also begin with these tips and advice, if you feel that there are any tips and advice that I missed or techniques, feel free to comment below, so that anyone that comes onto the page, like I said, I want it to be user friendly, so that if anyone picks up a video and they're still unsure of some things, like if we get together and engage and actually just comment below of some of the techniques that may work for us, will be brilliant. So that will be much appreciated. That's a challenge for you all if you hear something that I missed in these. So method number 1, let's begin this. As we know though, autistic children are usually often overstimulated by so many things. Like it can be based on their everyday classic signs of their 5 senses, like your touch, sound and light, or like your touch and textures versus your taste and everything else. They can also become overwhelmed and frustrated by some unexpected turned on events, basically such as maybe a routine has been changed in their everyday life of what they're so accustomed to and used to. Sometimes you got to be in mind, as I shared in my video about life of an Aspie, the importance of a routine or something. I recommend you guys to look into that to actually understand where I'm coming from, of what I'm trying to address here. I'll say this and stress this, I can't stress it enough, for most of us autistics, not all but some, we go by a certain structure and routine every day, be it whatever it may be, a certain turn of events, regardless what it can make us so overwhelming. And sometimes also, another part I want to address there before I further on this is that, you know, when it comes down to routines, many people may call it as if we've got a control issue, as I said, but I feel sometimes with me, as I shared, that having a routine is like a safety blanket for me, and that, you know, I can break out of it from time to time if need be, but it has to be, you know, little steps at a time, to just, you know, go with the flow with yours or whatever it may be. But you got to bear in mind that, you know, it may take longer for me to actually adjust to what you guys are trying to get out of me, if that makes sense. If it doesn't, I'll try and hopefully explain it better later, but it should be all clearly addressed into what I suggested as one of the videos to look out for here, of what I'm experienced, you know, what I've experienced of my routine. Anyway, as we know, because of autistic children usually often struggle to understand or communicate the experiences, because some autistic children obviously are non-verbal versus verbal. Some can be good at communication, some ain't. Some may, you know, tend to sign. Some may just need some helping hand, not just by signing as such, but certain treatments and therapies along the way to help them engage with you and communicate. So you've got to bear in mind the differences between some autistics. Also, during their experiences when they are struggling to understand and communicate, basically they may throw a lot of tantrums. Sometimes they are referred to as meltdowns. Again, I can't stress this enough. Many people misunderstand or defines tantrums or gets tantrums and meltdowns knocked up of the definitions between the both. Okay, I managed to do a few series of the tantrums and meltdowns series, so basically not tantrums and meltdowns, but just meltdowns in general. Somewhere in there I did classify what the differentiations between the both of the tantrums and meltdowns. So again, I recommend you guys to maybe go through my meltdown series somewhere. It might hopefully in there. If it's not in there of the definition, let me know, but I'm sure I did actually address that. But let's go on. During the meltdown stages of a child, however, they may scream, flail wildly, destroy certain property of yours of value, or even respond violently to others. So they may end up going to a high degree of frustration to the point where with their meltdowns they might lead to self-harm on ourselves or onto others. Okay, but like again, you just look out for warning signs of knowing when it's important to actually intervene and not intervene, you know, so to speak, if that makes sense. Any autistic children, however, can frequently become agitated, so it's important for parents, caregivers, teachers, whoever that's, you know, dealing with autistic children to actually know how to calm them down in the right, appropriate manner. Even though many people go the wrong way about, you know, calming the child down, but you got to remember also every child that is autistic is different, as I've stressed so much before. So there are several techniques to try, but it's also with these techniques and management to find out which ones may work best for your child or whoever that you're dealing with, that you've noticed it by showing those classic signs of meltdowns, tantrums, or whatever it may be. Some of these techniques also, just bear in mind, may help with other high influential kind of style like ADHD and ADD and the like, of what I'm going to share here. But I just wanted to clearly address it in the autistic one per se at this moment of time. So method 1, preventing and dealing with meltdown. Okay, number 1, figure out what triggered the meltdown in the first place. You know, sometimes it's really useful to know the cause and triggers of what actually really started that meltdown in the first place, because this can then help you hopefully keep them away from whatever was upsetting them in the time being, be it was a change in the environment, or like for me sometimes for my meltdowns, depending on everyday situations, like for example, if it gets too much for me to the point, I'll get a bit emotional and whatnot, withdraw myself from people, and many people think I'm kind of rude when I actually, you know, walk away the other direction. But like I said, I don't mean to, but hopefully if you guys understand me more as a person, like with my social energy tank, because I've mentioned so many times before, if it is in the low, I need to have time out for me, which is probably normal for every normal MT neurotypicals as well, for what I'm sharing here. But the key importance here though is basically in calming an autistic child here. So observing your child and trying to figure out the triggers and causes for their certain behaviours that arose in the first place. For a parent, teacher, guardian or whatnot that is aware of the child's triggers, they may be able to avoid it in the long run, as well as maybe, I don't know, manage it if they can't avoid it. So therefore, here's a few tips here that I want to address to you all. Okay, so for this one, for method number 1, especially in number 1, for the tip here is number 1 for figuring it out is maybe keep a notebook handy to record the child's common triggers that will help you to prevent triggering the meltdowns. You might also consider using a smartphone app to log the meltdowns and their causes, because there are certain apps today that can be useful in recording our everyday stuff, be it, diary, journal, whatever. So therefore, maybe using an app if it's easier for you, depending on you, if you want a pen to paper or just, screen to keyboard or whatever. So number 2, some common triggers for meltdowns in autistic children are changes or disruptions in their normal everyday routine of what they go through, and it can be a sense of also overstimulation, frustration, and then leads to the point of some of the autistic children have communication difficulties, and they may become mute and stuff, and what have you, and they may not be able to talk to you, and you're probably thinking to why they're acting that way in the first place, and then all hell breaks loose for them, and then it gets a bit frustrating for the parent, caregiver, teacher, or whoever that's dealing with that child. And like I said, I can't stress it enough, do not yell at the child while they're having a meltdown. It makes the situation worse, obviously. Do not forever foresee circumstances to keep on telling them that they're the problem or whatever, or you're a failure or whatever it may be. There's some classic no-no as well. I've seen it once in a while, how some people handle kids that are autistic or has higher needs than anyone else, and it just breaks my heart, to be honest, how they get treated along the way. And I just feel for that child or young adult or whoever that may have that classic meltdown tantrum stage, because I'm not perfect. I usually do have my meltdown sometimes, as we know, as I said in this last tip or just word of advice here, meltdowns are different from tantrums. However, tantrums are thrown on purpose. This is how it's differentiated now, okay? I'm differentiating as a power play, and we'll stop once you give in. So I'll repeat that. Tantrums are thrown on purpose as a power play, and we'll stop once you give in to their tantrums. However, on the other hand, meltdowns occur when an autistic person becomes so stressed that they can't control themselves and they feel so powerless and will not stop until it has run its course. So the differentiation there is, as I'm saying here, for the meltdown, obviously the child that's autistic or that has high needs will become so overstressed and stuff, and it's like they're losing control and power over whatever is running its course of that meltdown. They give headaches, maybe they might have something going on in that little head of theirs, whatever it may be, but we gotta let it run its course sometimes, so don't fret if it doesn't stop straight away. Number 2, stick to a routine. This can be debated here, but sometimes some people say that it's good to have a routine, especially for a child. That can be easy to follow and whatnot. The child can then predict what will happen next that is autistic. This will help keep the child calm, and as I said before, that they're safe and they feel that their environment is not going to go in a whirlwind of a child's day. Okay, some tips here to bear in mind is illustrated schedules can help the child visually see the routine for a day or for the day or week. Okay, so maybe have some, daily planners up on the walls somewhere that's easily readable, accessible for the child, so they can hopefully pinpoint, because most autistics can be either verbal, they can be tactile, they can be whatever kind of learning. Tip number 2, if you know that there will be changes to the routine on a given day, make sure you take the time to prepare your child, okay? Talk to them beforehand and communicate these changes clearly and patiently with them. And tip number 3 on this one, when introducing your child to a new environment, it is best if you do it when there is less stimuli going on, so it's the calm environment, you're calm, the child's calm and everything else. This will mean that bringing your child at a time where there is no noise or less noise, people around. Okay, number 3, communicate clearly with your child. Okay, as I said before, there's some autistics may be verbal, some are not, so hear me out on this. Verbal communication is a source of frustration for many autistic children, however. Talk patiently, respectfully, and enunciate effectively and clearly. So for the tips there is, number 1, avoid shouting or adopting an aggressive tone to them, as it may worsen the tantrum or meltdown or whatever they were feeling in the first place. Number 2 is, if verbal communication is difficult for your child, try communicating through pictures or other forms of AAC. If you want to know more about what I'm meaning on the AAC, I can clearly bring that out and talk it out about what this is all about. And number 3, remember that communication goes both ways. Always listen to your child and make it clear that you value and respect what they have to say. Ask them questions if you need clarification to prevent frustration-related meltdowns, and vice versa. Let them ask questions to you if they didn't even understand in the first place, and put it in easy language for them to understand. Number 4, distract the child if you speak. The cause is emotional, psychological. When your child is upset, you can sometimes calm them down by diverting their attention, by distracting them in other areas, regardless what it may be. Try playing enthusiastically with a favourite toy, like a kid. If a kid likes to fly their model airplane, take them outside if it's a calm, peaceful day, and basically fly that around, or maybe watching a favourite video or listening to a favourite song. If possible, involve their special interests, because obviously they like it when their interests are actually being appreciated and actually known. As we know, sometimes for this, just for quick tips on here, distractions won't always work. For example, questions about your sister's rock collections might distract from her fears about getting a flu shot, but it won't fix things if her problem is that her dressing feels like fire ants on her skin. Number 2 on this, once the child is calm again, it is a good idea to talk to them about what made them angry or stimulated them in the first place. Ask them what happened and work together to find ways to prevent it from reoccurring. Number 5, changing the child's surroundings. Your child may be upset because they are hypersensitive and overstimulated. As I said before, that the hypersensitivity versus overstimulation of certain things, of their stimuli, be it whatever it may be. When this happens, it may be a good idea to simply bring the child to a different environment or to change the environment altogether, e.g. turning off loud music to reduce overstimulation. And another idea here, for example, if your child finds fluorescent lights is better, to take your child to a room with an alternative lighting, rather than forcing the child to put up with it. And another one is, if the child is in a location where the environment cannot easily be changed, however, take precautions. For example, you could give your child sunglasses to prevent hypersensitive sunlight, or earplugs to drown out any noise that really, overstimulates them to wear in public places. Raise some precautions with your child, however. Number 6, give your child some space. Sometimes children just need some time alone before they feel ready to engage again with you. Just don't forever feel too upset about it if they want space for a long period of time or whatever. They'll come out of their shell eventually. Try letting them sit for a while to calm down, usually in the area with limited sensory stimuli. Consider safety. Never leave a young child alone unsupervised or lock someone in a room. Make sure the child is safe and be able to leave if and when they want. Number 7. After the meltdown stage, after it progressed or has subsided, shall we say, discuss it with your child or teen or whoever. Using a solution-based approach instead of blaming or punishing the child or teen, talk about ways to prevent meltdowns and better cope with stress. Try talking about, number 1, what the child believes caused the meltdown. Listen patiently while they talk this out with you. Number 2, how similar situations can be avoided in the near future. Number 3, more effective coping strategies, taking a break, counting, using deep breaths, what have you. And number 4, an escape plan to end future tantrums. Well, basically that ends the first one of preventing and dealing with meltdowns, basically of how to calm an autistic child. Feel free to comment below, give me a thumbs up also if you like this and showing that you're engaging. Feel free to also follow me on Twitter, Facebook, AspieAnswersAll. Feel free to private message me on AspieAnswersAll, as well as direct message me if you feel the need to on YouTube. Feel free to also basically subscribe if you haven't done so. Feel free to share these videos to family, friends and whatever, because like I said, I want these as learning aid resource tools. Just heads up there. So another thing to do, guys. Thanks for watching, thanks for support, and I'll see you again soon.